you. Oh, nope. Mio's like, nah, just kidding. I don't want to be mayor, actually. Make it
But yes,
funnier.
absolutely I do.
Go, my noble steed! The ship doesn't swerve when it sees how big the iceberg is. I like big plants, I cannot lie. And I think I need to go back to... Wait! Wait, what? Are you ready for some top secret horse-based intel? There's a food that horses just love. It's... carrots. I think you were supposed to do that! Oh, what? Sir? Delicious. Giva, what are you doing? Alright, I think you're not. I think you're being taken off of chicken feeding duty, darling. Ring if. Oh, goodbye. Goodbye. I have to go. My people need me. Well, hello everyone. We're a little bit late because we got to chatting during the setting up, so instead of doing my song, I'm gonna hop right on back into the call.
And revenge is going to make me many hats.
Hello everyone.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I was
Hi.
deafened, so now everyone can hear you.
Hello.
Hello.
Let's
Hi.
jump back in the correct scene. And now they can see you too.
Well,
Hi,
kind
everyone.
There's a
So,
lot of watering plants going on.
what's that?
There's a lot of watering plants going on.
There is a lot of watering plants. I actually had to water all of my actual plants in this room earlier because I have been very bad at it lately.
I should water some plants if they're
Would you
still
like to see my
alive.
one plant?
Yes.
It's
Oh
a
my God,
cactus.
that's so cute.
It's very dead.
I
But
can't.
that's okay.
I
It's
can't
very
keep
cute.
cactus alive. I can't.
My whole front window has Wilsons all over it, and I don't think Wilson is alive anymore. We'll see. Maybe water it and see if we get some new sprouts.
Hi, Fudge. Let
Bye.
I don't
me
have plants.
Hi, everyone. Welcome in.
go to
Hey
the Kirby.
everyone.
Join me for a crochet break as we get
I've
ready
got
here.
I've got some knitting.
All right.
I haven't shown how
You-
far I've gotten on it,
Are you,
but
is that another one of the puddle ones?
yeah, the cuddle puddle.
Oh,
Ooh, I
it
love
looks
it.
so
Sorry,
good.
it doesn't work with the background.
It still looks really good.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's really the only problem I ran into is I was at like some auditorium and I was like, oh, surely I'll be able to knit, and then they turned off the lights and I was like, oh, because you have to like pay attention to the colors.
Yeah. It's one
It's
of
like
the
I could
things.
totally do this, and then I'm like, I don't know if that's gray or green. I guess I won't be knitting.
Well, all right. Do you guys
You-
want to talk about what we're doing here and go around and do some introductions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it.
So this is our second episode of what we're calling Composed. They are mental health chats, kind of geared a little bit around streaming, content creating, online presence, things like that. But they also, as they usually do, expand a little bit past that and have some real life applications too. Today we are talking about expectations, either expectations that we set for ourselves or ones that we feel like are set for us that we don't have much control over. And so The four of us are going to talk about different kinds of expectations, and then we're going to wrap up talking about healthy versus unhealthy expectations. I will kick off with the introductions. My name's Redria. I am Plant Witch Gigi in our stream team, the Cool Gamer Retirement Home, where, as you all know, we wish we were retired, but until then, we're just gonna keep playing video games and crafting and doing fiber art and all sorts of fun things. Let's have Island Grandpa. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Ah, hello. Well, man, what did I used to say? What to do, buckaroos? I'm Island Grandpa. Here to affirm all you grandkids out there that you are respected, valued, and loved. I am a streamer? Question mark. I have been streaming, just not for a bit, which will be part of my talk. Um, but yeah, I'm here to just hang out with these people and talk about our stuff today. And it's great to be here and great to see all of you in the chat and stuff.
I can go next.
Go for it.
I am Catrium. I stream at twitch.tv/slash Catrium, Katrym. I am your internet grandma in the CGRH community. I mostly stream, I've been off and on the past several years. But I've been like slowly crawling my way back into it. And mostly I do a lot of fiber art, as you can see, doing
Woo,
some
fiber
stuff.
art!
And yes, fiber arts. I would lift up this basket, but there's too much yarn and I can barely pull it.
All the fiber art.
There's such thing as there's such
Yes.
thing as too much yarn.
Um, and yeah, I'm excited to chat. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is that I do blog at lizcultivates.com. And I am a self-published author as well. You can find my books on that
Woo!
website. Ooh, thanks.
I'm Twitch at Island Grandpa. I forgot to mention
Oh, we
handles.
should write these in chat.
We can write these.
Oh,
I'll just give shout outs.
okay, cool.
Hello, I am known as Stale Biscuit on the CGRH community. I am a streamer usually when I don't have too many other things going on in life. Um, Otherwise, I'm known as Fairy Biscuit. Um,
That was the last game I
I'm
played.
Yeah, Coral Island, but that was only because I was doing it while I was working. And I'm very glad that no one at my work knows that I do this. Um, I am very happy to be a part of the Cool Gamer Retirement Home stream team. So thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it. And I hope
Yeah.
everyone is having a really great day.
Yeah.
Woo.
Grab my notes. I went full screen and I forgot that was gonna hide my notes page. All right, we are doing actually pretty good for time, all things considered. So the way we're gonna break this panel down is the four of us have our own topic that we would like to speak to and kind of talk about our own experiences around expectations, whether they're expectations that we set of ourselves or just things that we feel are expected of us and how they impact our either day-to-day life or just the hobby side of things. And after that, we're going to do an open forum where the four panel members are going to kind of speak to their experiences on things. And then after that, we will open for a chat Q&A. I do ask if you are in the Discord and you hop into the voice call that you mute yourself until we get to the Q&A section. And you also are not required to hop in and like speak. You can also type in chat. We will read out messages, whatever you're more comfortable with. I believe, unless anyone has a preference, Katrim, are you okay to go first?
Yeah, that is totally good with me. First I want to do an audio check, just making sure that everybody can hear me.
I
Good
can
to
hear
hear you.
you. Chat,
I can
can
hear
you
you.
hear Katrim pretty well?
Hello, I'm Catrium.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to.
Thank you guys.
I hurt my
Okay.
back, so if you hear any weird noises today, like I'll try to mute myself during things. But if you hear, oh,
It's
don't
totally
worry,
fine.
I'm okay.
I,
In pain,
can I
but
just tell
okay.
my favorite joke that we do here is that this is the retirement home, and
Yeah,
so any technical difficulties are it's
it's
thematic, it's built in.
It's on brand.
yep.
It's fine, actually.
Yes. Okay, cool. So, in planning for this event, I was kind of thinking about expectations and what those mean to me and kind of what that means in general. And we kind of settled on kind of 4 different topics in terms of what expectations mean. And my topic is expectations around commitments. And I think it's kind of a good place to start, especially for this time of year, right? So we have it's New Year's resolutions time, whether we like it or not. Um, and I am not really making um, resolutions. They're more like soft goals for the year, but not, like I'm gonna completely rearrange my life, blah blah, because I think, and as we kind of move through this conversation, I think it'll kind of become pretty apparent that these kinds of expectations and these societal expectations and kind of coupled with our personal expectations can get a little messy, and it can get a little uh, not so great for our mental health and wellness. um, and so in thinking about commitment and in thinking about um, expectations around commitment, there's usually like a couple of different things that we can think about, right? So we think about commitment in terms of our relationships, whether they're romantic or friendships or, like just our relationships with the people around us. And we also think about commitment in terms of our jobs, like the commitment that we have made to capitalism to get up every day and go do a however we work. Yeah. And and then there's also commitments to ourselves, things that we want to improve on in ourselves or things that we want to learn, like our education, things that like our hobbies, right? So, and I think in terms of just this group, we've made a commitment to each other, to create a welcoming communal environment that is kind and well, anti-work. We're here doing this. Um, but commitments doesn't it's a neutral word, right? It doesn't have to be a good thing, and it doesn't have to be a bad or a negative thing. But I think that a lot of the times um, we make commitments, and it can get a little messy if you are in not a good headspace to be making those kinds of commitments, right? There is a huge and we talked about this in, I think, our first session. We talked a lot about hustle culture in the first panel that we did, and there is a lot of uh intersection, sorry, between commitments and expectations around commitments and hustle culture, right? Because you're supposed to have a job. You're supposed to want to make your hobbies a job. I'm supposed to sell all of my crochet and all of my whatevers, and I gotta keep doing it, keep selling myself, selling my content, selling my whatever, right? Kind of in this capitalistic mindset that we're all under the thrall of. That's not the right way to say that, but you know what I mean. Um, the expectation that you are going to make those commitments can be kind of uh, uh, stressful, right? Stressful and kind of triggering. And I think for me, myself, I have always been a kind of a people pleaser, right? If you're my therapist and you see this, no, you didn't. But yeah, I mean that's something that I've really been working on in myself over the past few years, is that I when someone asks me if I want to do something, the answer is always yes. Um, and I think as I've gotten a little bit older, I think I have, well, maybe other people would disagree, but I think I've gotten better at saying no or maybe, or like actually take stock of my own personal uh, feelings and and needs before committing to something new, right? But right, that kind of uh, brings a different um, bit of stress, which is that even if you're not making commitments to other people, you're making commitments to yourself, and the expectation around, like, you expect things of yourself no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing. And the expectation that you put on yourself um can be a little stressful, can be a little, a little mentally taxing. We talk about the spoons metaphor. I don't know if you're familiar with the spoons theory. Basically, you wake up in the morning and you have a set amount of spoons for the day, and you stub your toe. That's 2 spoons. You make breakfast. That's 2 spoons, right? And you only have so many spoons. And sometimes when you are having a mentally difficult time, you don't have as many spoons as you would at other times. And so setting those expectations requires a lot of thought, requires a lot of care, and it requires you to kind of, I should stop using the royal you. Uh, me, right? Like personally, I've always struggled with this because I feel like I should be doing more and being more and like committing to everything that everyone asks of me. Because what if someone asks me and I say no, and then they don't like me. Right? And so um it's I think the yeah, I mean that's basically its own thing, right? But then we have societal commitments that people expect of us. People in general, not, if you ask any one person, do you expect this of another person? They're going to say no. But societal commitments, like you have to have a 9 to 5, you have to have a mortgage, you should probably have 2.5 kids and a picket fence and a dog, right? And I think that the stress of that can really get to people sometimes. And I don't. Again, this is something that I've been struggling with, pretty much my whole life. Is where do those expectations um, start, and where do my own personal expectations uh, kind of factor into this, right? And so I don't really have an end for my talking points. But again, those are just different types of commitments and kind of the self expectations and the societal expectations that go along with them. And I think that we as a group are all uh, I don't know. I feel like we're all kind of on the same wavelength in terms of like how we feel about these types of commitments and these types of situations. Um, and I'm just happy to have found a group of people, because I think part of for me anyway, part of the solution for this, or solution for feeling all of the stress that comes with these expectations, is finding a community of people around you to express those frustrations with, and to kind of be, you're not alone in the universe. So yeah, I am ready to open it up to questions.
We'll do our forum first.
Okay.
The four of us kind of
Oh,
talking
got it.
about
Okay.
your talking points. So I typed a couple of things up. The one thing that came to mind immediately when I saw the word commitment was flaking on a commitment.
Yeah.
And that is something that I struggle with really, really hard because I have this guilt built up in my head about I said I was going to do XYZ, I should do XYZ. And
Yeah.
this comes to play in a couple of different ways. The main way it comes into streaming is creating a streaming schedule, or like even just scheduling a stream and saying I'm going to do this on this day. And
Mm-hmm.
Katrin, what you said about spoons is fairly accurate. You can plan as much as you want, but if on a certain day you do not have the capacity to do something, it is kind of hard to figure out how to forgive yourself for, having to walk back on a commitment. And I
Yeah.
think having this community where we can navigate these feelings together and have a bunch of people who also understand overextending yourself or committing to
Yep.
things and then having to kind of back off of them, it makes it easier, but it's still a work in progress, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like a lot of, and this is something I should have mentioned, but a lot of navigating commitments and these, is the commitments, and then like expectation to make commitments, is that when you don't make the commitment, or when you fail to make the commitment, their guilt is just a huge feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
You feel that shame of I've let people down, or I'm going to let people down. um and that you can only unlearn that so fast. And I think, like you said, having a group of people around us to help navigate those feelings is key. Yeah.
And does anyone else have anything they'd like to put in towards expectations? And
I typed a lot of things, but they actually go along with what I'm going to talk about. So, but I think also like something I want to put in, like I at least I speak for myself. I know we have others here who are also neurodivergent, but like that we have we have expectations, but then we have other things. Like the expectation is the general big picture here of everyone, quotes around that, should do ABC. But doing ABC looks different for every single person. And so while there might be this giant expectation, that doesn't mean that the execution is the same for everyone. So like, talking about having a schedule, not everyone can stick to a schedule. Like, but it makes you feel bad if you can't. Like for me, like that's the thing. I was like, I should have a schedule. I can't stick to a schedule. Like at least, and that kind of pulls into what I'll talk about with presents. But like, there's I think there's also just like we have expectations, but we need to have grace for ourselves too, which is hard. It's
it is
hard to be
hard.
nice to ourselves.
Yeah, what the heck?
I know, right? Like I can be nice to everyone else, but me, forget it.
It feels like we hold ourselves to higher expectations than we do others.
What? What?
Yeah.
And I don't
Sounds real
know
bad.
I don't know how fair that is, but
It's not.
like
Gosh.
for example, I'm not going to name any specific names, but we've done a lot of charity work with the Cool Gamer Retirement Home. We've
Yep.
done 4 or 5. We've done 2 Septembers, 2 Pride Crafts. We did
Yep.
Thankmas this year. We did a brief Thankmas last year. We did our initial raft charity, and we did the
Yep.
March for Our Planet. That's 6. Yeah?
Yep.
And then I did
Yep.
a brief thing for Gamers Outreach, so that's 7. So as you can see, we like charity here. And I have had a lot of people who wanted to volunteer for charity stuff, and they even had their name down and on the schedule. And what happened? Life happened.
Life
Somebody
happened.
ended up like
Yep.
having to change around one of their moving days, somebody else, they got sick. There are
Yeah.
just things that we absolutely cannot control. But I promise you, everyone who came to me saying, I need to back out, they felt bad. I wasn't upset.
Yeah.
I
Well, and
understand that things happen.
that's part of what I think with Catrium saying is also our community. Like at this, and like I think we talked about this in our last composed, but like cultivating a community, a healthy, like supportive community is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely agree. Biscuit, did you have any feelings toward commitment and expectations?
I've tried so many times to make a stream schedule, and then something in my life always goes, nope,
Mm-hmm.
nope, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, I feel like it's one of those things where, as a streamer, people kind of make that expectation of like, oh, they're a streamer, so like they're gonna have a stream schedule all the time.
Yep.
Mm,
Right.
Not so much, and like, yes, it's cool when some streamers have that ability to, have that stream schedule, but
Yeah.
when you have a full-time job and you have other commitments that you have to prioritize over streaming, and your health being one of them as well, right? Talking about
Yeah.
spoons and being able to, like, just go through a day and get to the end of it sometimes is all sometimes some people can do.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of negative comments about, streamers not having stream schedules or not being consistent, or you know because people like consistency. It's like, okay, well, that's great for you, but
Right.
Definitely.
But
my
you're not
life.
the one doing the work. Like,
Mhm.
Right. And I guess that is where like the expectation comes from. If you single out like one viewer and you say, "Are you mad at me because I don't have a stream schedule?" I can almost guarantee you they're going to say, "No, I does not bother me." But there is kind of this expectation in the streamer world to have some sort of like regularity. It doesn't even have to be a schedule, but like just some sort of like consistency, regularity. It's something that it feels like is expected of us. And
kind of that mob mentality, right? Like,
yeah,
oh,
Yeah.
everyone does this, so
Well,
everyone thinks that blah blah blah.
I feel it
There's
also
Cora.
we run into an issue of quantity versus quality,
mm-hmm.
which is, just to be clear, not saying that if you have a stream schedule and you consistently stream on time that you don't have quality or anything like that. But I think it's important that, at least for me, I'd rather do a stream when I feel up to it and have the energy to put into it and do a quality stream than have, 3 weeks of doing a stream on time, but like not feeling it, not having the energy, not having whatever. Like,
Right.
what is going to be more, and this is, I mean, this goes into like, why do you stream and all this other stuff, but like, for me as a consumer, I'd rather have the quality product less than just getting the same thing over and over and over and over again.
I can
Well, and not
understand
just
that.
that, is like you kind of become friends with your streamer,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
it's like a parasocial thing. And so you
Yes.
want your friend to like feel good. And you want your friend to like not have a bad time. And
Yep.
so if a streamer is having a bad time while they're streaming because they think they need to commit to this schedule, it's like,
like like
seems bad.
what I wrote down in my notes about this is, I used to listen to tons of podcasts before the pandemic, like tons of podcasts, because part of it was I had a commute and some other things, so I had the time. And like, I felt bad because like, then those people, we all go through this, global thing, and those people felt that, for those who did weekly, that they still had to be putting out content. And like, I know for a couple of the ones I listened to, like they had a lot of life stuff happen on top of already doing with the collective trauma of a pandemic. And you could just tell
You
in their
can tell.
voices, like,
Yeah.
hey, they're tired. They need a break. Like, and like, I wish they could have felt like they could have taken a break revitalize yourself, or however, some self-care, and then come back to it. But then at the same time, you run into like, well, there's a whole horrible thing happening. Maybe this thing I'm doing can help. And then that's a people pleaser thing and whatever. So like it's this whole, circle of different things. But again, same thing, like, and I know some people talk about like self-care and stuff like that. But oh, hey.
Hi,
Hi, Nat
Nat. Welcome
again.
in, Raiders. I'm a Raider
Woo.
from Nat again.
Woo.
Oh, hey, welcome to your own stream, Redria.
I know, right? Welcome.
Yeah.
I always love that. Well, welcome in, Raiders. I'm not going to do the song because we are in the middle of a podcast, and
Wait, didn't you make a commitment to do the song every time?
Yeah.
but you promised.
But yeah, I think that's this is a really good discussion, and I'm glad that we're having it.
I am too, and like I'm glad that it feeds into the topic we talked about last time, but it's completely own thing, and that's kind of what I think that's what the goal is. It's all going to kind of play together into good mental health practices.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Nat, we are talking about expectations around commitment. And one of the common streamer commitment things we were talking about was a stream schedule, and how some of us either feel like we should make a stream schedule because people want consistency, or like should have, I don't know, like it doesn't even have to be like I have looked back at some of my earliest stream schedules. Do you guys want to go down memory lane with me? Because I swear, when we first kicked off the CGRH, we were doing like 2 Saturday streams, 1 or 2 Sunday streams. Like it was pretty wild. I don't know if I'll pull it up on screen because I don't know if I can find it.
Again, I'll speak to my own self, because I know not everyone is neurodivergent, but for me it definitely had that energy of, I have my new project.
This is my new thing.
This is my new hyperfixation. I'm gonna put everything into it.
Oh yeah. I have my schedule here. So it was Wednesday was a stream, Thursday was a stream, Friday was a stream, Saturday was 2 streams, and then Sunday was a stream. Because we had so many different things we were doing. We started a Divinity Original Sin 2 playthrough. We had Stardew Valley co-op for a while. We had Final Fantasy. We had like the Minecraft story-based SMP project. Like we were doing a lot. And I mean, I'm kind of I don't think there was anything wrong with streaming that much. I do think that that's not sustainable in the long term, which, as you know,
as we can see, right? Yes. I mean, like, clearly.
Yeah.
I think we've all kind of settled into, and Island Grandpa, I know you're going to talk a little bit more about this, but I think we've kind of settled into like a routine, at least for like how we're going to continue this, right? Redria, you're clearly like you do it. And like I do it sometimes. But I think, I don't know, streaming being the thing that has brought us all together is awesome.
Yeah.
But we all understand that we are all people, right?
Yeah.
And the commitments that we make to each other now are more like, I'm your friend.
Yeah.
And I am here to listen to the things that you have to say. And less about, I'm going to stream 14 times a week.
Yes. It may be the thing that brought us together, but it doesn't have to be the thing that keeps us together. And I think we all...
Comes telling me you want to stream 14 times a week, I think we're going to have a talk. Be like, hey,
I don't even think I'd have that much time. I'm kind of surprised I did, because I was still working full time when I had that schedule.
Yeah, right?
Well, we all had this thing where we couldn't go outside.
That's true. That's true.
It was towards the end of things.
Yeah.
Not the end, but anyway.
I know what you mean. That definitely had some sort of impact on everything.
Yeah.
So I think now unless anyone else has any specific points that they want to cover in the open forum, we can open it up to chat. Does anyone in the chat have anything they would like to talk about with regard to commitments and expectations around making and or keeping those commitments? Have you had anything happen that you feel like sharing with the class? Taking us to school.
And if not, we
Yeah.
can, we can always return to this topic
We
if,
can. I'm okay with doing like a Q&A at the end. Yes, Nat, you are allowed to
Yeah,
come
please.
into the VC if you would
Yeah, yeah,
like.
yeah.
Everybody
We just
can
ask
hop in
that
and voice. Yeah.
we ask that when like a presenter is talking and when we're doing open forum to just mute, but now we're at Q&A. Up to you, Blaze. If you want to hop in the VC and talk, you can. If you feel more comfortable typing, I will read it aloud. I've got no preference.
We just ask that you mute when someone else is talking, and yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Oh God. Ow.
Hey, Nat.
Hey, Nat.
I feel like personally my biggest thing is that I like commitment and then I get anxious when I can't hold those commitments.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, this is brought up because I came in a little late, but like especially the stream schedule thing, that's a big deal for me. And like one of the biggest reasons I can't have a stream schedule is because I base it around when my boyfriend comes over because I want to spend time with him when he's available. Then it's like I'm streaming around that, but that's not always consistent. And so like that puts me in a place where I'm like, okay, I can kind of make a schedule on the fly that's like tentative to change, but I definitely feel like, oh, I still want to stream 2 to 3 days a week as a commitment, and that doesn't always happen either. But I feel
Yeah.
like on-stream commitments are even harder, especially like making family plans, friend plans kind of thing, because you're like, "Oh, let's go to dinner," and then, like, it comes up and you're like, "Actually, I don't feel like going. I don't feel like interacting with people. I don't feel like this, that, and the other." I feel like that's been my like, I guess, problem-wise in terms of commitments that whether or not I can hold them, like, it feels a lot more like and then I just feel bad if I don't.
We did talk about like the guilt and the shame around not having the spoons or just like being
Yep.
unable to stick to commitments. And what we think is that having a community like this where we are all kind of gentle and forgiving with each other around these commitments has kind of helped in terms of learning to navigate, but it's still definitely a work in progress.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I saw that Blaze also joined the VC.
Can I get a mic check?
I can hear you perfectly
I
fine.
can hear you.
I think that's the first time that my mic has worked the
I
first time I
know.
joined.
I'm kind of surprised.
So, my experience isn't related to streaming, but I used to be a soccer referee for about 12 years. And one of the things that I learned really, really quickly is that I can't please everyone. You know,
Yes.
Hmm.
regardless of whatever call you make,
Yeah, you make one call.
somebody's gonna get upset, someone's gonna get mad. And so one of the things that I struggled for years with was whether my commitment was to the spectators or my commitment was to the game itself. And then as kind of a follow up to that, I had to ask whether I preferred to be liked or respected in that situation. And so it was kind of tricky for me to figure that out. And I found that I'm going to tie this in to the community aspects. Just hanging out and chatting with fellow referees and hearing some of their experiences and how they dealt with similar situations, I found that helped me tremendously, and it made me feel less guilty about making certain decisions and whatnot.
Nice.
Yeah, that's I like how you tie that in there about how the community aspect kind of tampers that guilt feeling,
Mhm.
right? Because
Yeah.
when you have people around you um who experience similar things or who are, giving you the grace that you're not going to give yourself, like it kind of helps tamp down that feeling of shame that wow, that the people in the audience are trying to put on you because you're not making the call that they want,
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's probably one of the most fascinating things that we haven't talked about yet is who are we making these commitments for? Like,
Yep.
Right.
are we making them for ourselves? Are we making them for our audience? Are we making them to Twitch? Like, that's a very important question that can kind of help ground yourself and, like, reorient yourself if you do have a moment of you're feeling lost. Like, ask yourself, who's this commitment really to?
Right. Who is this for? Yeah. Because usually, if you're me, it's for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to ask yourself, does that matter?
Mm-hmm. I fall into a lot of the similar, like, people pleasing aspects, and it takes a lot of active work to stay grounded in times like that, of like saying,
Yep.
okay, yes, you are a people pleaser, but you are also a person worth pleasing. So I know, what? Who would have thought?
Hold on, I gotta write that down on every whiteboard I own.
Post-its everywhere.
Yes.
Yep.
Even like, if that's your takeaway from the stream, run with it, my friends. And I'm talking to myself too here.
Writing it
So
down.
I feel like that covered expectations around commitment very well. Are we ready to
Yeah,
move on?
Nat and Agent, thank you so much for sharing. That
Yes.
Yeah.
was
Thank
that's
you.
good. Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys for sharing your perspective, and it did help tie a lot of things together. If you guys want to stay in the call until the next, like, Q&A, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So I think next we have Island Grandpa talking about expectations around presents.
Hi. So, a little background. Um, I anyone who's been involved in Cool Gamer Retirement Home, like I was pretty active when we first formed, getting it all taken care of, or not taken care. You know what I mean? Being involved. Um, and then I am currently finishing a bachelor's degree. I also work full time and have other life commitments. And when I started streaming, the reason I started streaming was I never had time to play games. Um, and video games are one of the things I use to de-stress and play. Like, I have a personal rule, and I've actually done this on stream, that if a game is extremely frustrating me or making me angry or upset or anything like that, not like, I mean, if I'm crying because the story's good, that's a separate thing. But if I'm having a negative reaction because of gameplay or something, I stop playing the game because I'm not having fun. That's just my rule. So like there's been a time where we were playing Zelda and we had a timed thing we had to do and we just couldn't get it. It just wasn't working. I spent a good like 15, 20 minutes, and it's like you could tell I was getting frustrated, and I'm like, you know what? This isn't going to work for a good stream. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to cut early because I don't want to sit here doing this thing, being frustrated and angry and upset on stream. That's just not cool for anyone. I mean, some people like that, but not me. Um, so, but when I started streaming, my two main reasons for doing it was one, to give myself a dedicated time where I could play a video game. Um, and two, because I have cool friends in this community and I wanted to do stuff with them, and I thought it was really funny and fun to be like, we're retired people, millennials pretending to be retired folks. Like, this is cool and fun. And like many other reasons, but those are like my top two reasons why I got into streaming. Um, Also, though, part of my background is I used to be in webcomics, uh, which also has its whole expectations and presence and stuff like that. So there's a lot of crossover, and there's a lot of things I learned from when I was in webcomics that I apply to streaming, because there's a lot of similarities. You have an expectation of when you're posting, when you're streaming. You have expectations for social media, your presence on social media, schedules, you know, quantity, or that's not the right note. I lost the note that I was looking at. So like there's all these expectations about what your presence is supposed to look like. Um, and we have these expectations of what's deemed as acceptable and what's deemed as expected for expectations of what's expected. Eh. Um, we also have like these ideas of what is successful, what does successful look, which again can be different for other people. Like you have people who they want, for them the measure of success is as many followers as possible. You have others where it's like I streamed this many times in a year or whatever. Everyone has their different measurements of what that looks like. For me, I didn't want this to be a side hustle. I just wanted to hang out with friends and also have time to stream and play games because I just didn't have that in my life schedule. Um, and so that worked pretty well for me for about a year, I think is I streamed about consistently for a year. And then stuff changed for me with life, particularly with school and work actually. Um, to the point where my mental capacity for just extra things was really stressing me out. Um, so I had to make a really hard decision because I had been involved with this community. I really loved having my presence involved in it. I mean, we've got yeah. Um, and sorry, I lost my notes, so I'm kind of winging it on this. So apologies, I'm all over the place. But the this is gonna sound weird, but time really is money in a way. So like, not, and I'm not saying necessarily in a capitalistic X thing or so tongue tied. Like time is a currency. How you spend your time is important because it affects you. It affects others too, but ultimately, like part of our thing with this is taking care of yourself. So for me, I had to analyze how I was spending my time. What were things that were absolutely necessary that I have to do because, we all have responsibilities, but also what am I doing with the time that I can actually play around with? Um, and unfortunately, I found that my play time was a lot smaller, and that if I tried to cram in streaming or anything like that, it wasn't working out for me. So I've actually been on a break for over a year now, which unfortunately everyone's had to hear. I'm coming back like next month because that's been the plan. Is I'll be like, okay, I got a break. I'm gonna start at this time, and this is the same thing with like trying to plan schedules. Like, I had changes in responsibilities and stuff, so it went okay, cool. This is opening up again. I'm gonna start this, and then life happens, and like thankfully again, having a community that supports you is really important. Like I've had a lot of life stuff happen. Actually, all of us have. Um, and um, and so being able to like talk through stuff and also my frustrations of like it's been really frustrating not being able to stream and be involved. Like I didn't get to do Pride Craft this last year, or September or Thankmas. Like I really enjoy being involved in helping out with the um, charity stuff that we do. I think it's really important. Um, but I've had to step back and be like, hey, I actually can't commit to this. And it's hard because as a streamer, we have these expectations that you're going to be present on social media and you're going to be present on stream and any subsequent things. Like for us, we have a Discord server, which join our Discord server if you'd like to have fun there. Um, but ow, shoot. So anyway, with presence time, I mean, I guess a better thing to say, time is money, is time is spoons. Like we have our spoons for like how we're gonna spend our time and stuff, and sometimes some of us have limited spoons. Like it just happens. Um, I also think that there's this expectation that there's gonna be this 24/7 availability that can happen. That again is not healthy. Like we can't be available 24/7 to like people in our lives. Like, I mean, like there's people who try, but like we have to have time to ourselves too. However that looks. And like for some people streaming is self-care. And that's cool and that's great that you've been able to, cultivate that. Um but what I've learned as far as having to take a step back from presence, I don't really do anything on social media. Mind you, I think we can all agree social media right now is all just not great, and hard because of changes that have been made, and trying to figure out where is best to have your own voice. So I personally have stepped back from social media because I'm not streaming right now. And I don't want to keep going, hey, stream's going to be back in a month, like, or something like that. Like, I don't, like, I'll share people's stuff, but like, as far as for my own presence, I've stepped back because I don't have anything to share right now. So like, I don't feel like I need to keep cultivating that experience. That might change once I start streaming again. But that was the thing that I could look at my time and my presence and how am I spending my presence and be like, okay, this is actually not important right now. And same with what Catcher was saying no. This has been really hard for me. We've had so many cool events in the last year, and I've had to go, no, I can't do it. I'm sorry. Um, and no one here has ever made me feel less than for saying no. No one's never made me feel less than for the fact that I haven't been able to stream for almost a year. Everyone's been extremely supportive, and that's again the really important thing is like if I was part of a group where like I had rules that said I have to stream this time, and have this much time on social media and all this other stuff, like I'd have to leave. And thankfully, like I was here helping with the founding of Cool Gamer Retirement Home, and I haven't had to leave, which has been a big deal for me because I love this community. I may be in the background right now, but I love this community. Um, Also, with presence, you have to look at like things yourself. So, like, I'm neurodivergent, I have ADHD and some other stuff, and that means that maybe a schedule isn't the best for me. I used to have a schedule that Wednesdays were when I streamed, and uh now I'm finding that you know what, it's going to be better if I just stream when it works in my schedule. uh so and that means obviously like I can't give people a heads up, but at the same time it means I'm going to get that time to do what I wanted to do, which is play some games and hang with friends. um and I talked a little bit about like also with the presence of like, again, a lot of times when it comes to like streaming, podcast, webcomics, anything where you're in the entertainment section, there again this presence where and I think Katrin brought it up, like parasocial, relationships here, where some people watch our stuff to like forget about the world and just have a good time for 20 minutes or an hour or whatever. And when you're not providing that, that can make it hard for that person. But like I said, with podcasts, like I had podcasts that I used to listen to that they kept up the whole pandemic, and I fell off because I could tell they were tired and needed a break, and I felt guilty listening to them. um, and I think it also with presence, I think it's also important. I spoke a little bit about this about quantity versus quality. I think it's way more important to do something when you're in the right mood for it and having the right, just all the stuff for it, where you have quality. Um, yeah, Bim Bam was what I was actually thinking of. Um, but like I'd rather put out a stream a couple times a month and have it be like a nice fun thing where I'm in the right like mindset to like engage and have fun, versus having to do something every single week. And that's not to criticize anyone who does that, but like if you're burned out or starting to get burned out, you need to look at your presence and you need to take a step back. um I feel like I had other important stuff that I wanted to say, but I can't remember it now. But just like your presence is precious to you too, and you need to reflect on like how that's affecting you and how you can, schedule, not schedule, but look at where you're spending that time and how that works for you. And it's hard when you have expectations that you're supposed to be, you know, available for people and entertaining people and stuff like that. But um, it's really, really important to also acknowledge that your presence for yourself is just as important. And I think that's pretty much.
Say it with me.
I missed what it said.
You can be a people pleaser, but you're a person worth pleasing.
Yep. You should type that in the chat. Sorry, I
Oh, yes,
choked on my water.
You're
you're
good. You're
fine.
good.
Ah,
One the key takeaway I wrote down from this part is that your presence is precious to you too,
yes.
because I feel like that is, again, we're kind of boiling everything down into like bite-sized, really important takeaway points, but
Yeah.
your presence matters to you. And I did understand what you were saying about like figuring out how to spend your time as if it were money. Like you do have to budget your time. It's a very limited resource. We all have
Yeah,
only so much.
for example, like this is not streaming related, but like because of just how my schedule is with just how life it is. I choose to pick up my groceries. It costs me $2 to do a grocery pickup. That $2 is worth it so that I don't have to spend hours in the grocery store myself
Yep.
when I already have like, like normally when I do grocery pickups are days where I have a bunch of homework due or something like that. And like my schedule and my presence is going to change after I graduate and I'll have to reassess what I want to do. But like that's just where I think of like time is money. Like I hate the capitalism behind it, but
Hmm.
it really is like how do I want to spend my spoons? Like
Right.
Well,
what can I spend my spoons
I
on?
don't think it's necessarily like we're not trying to say it's money as in like it's of value to
It's not a
society. It's a value
currency.
to
Yeah, yeah.
us. Like you
Yes,
have to figure
yeah,
out this is something that's important to me. How do I want to spend this precious resource?
exactly. Cuz I think so much like also going back to being a people pleaser, like my biggest lesson in adulthood is learning that I can say no if I don't want to do something or like even like I have a trouble where like let's say there's a need in the community and I fit that need, I'm not obligated to do that. Like I
Hmm.
can still say no. And I think that's important to learn that you can say no for things. Even if you really want to do it and really want to help,
yeah.
it's sometimes important in the long run to just say no.
Well, and you mentioned burnout. And I think, if you are always going, always doing, and you get really, really burnt out, then you can't continue, right? And so
Yep.
kind of holding space for yourself and making sure that you are using that precious resource um in a way that like makes sure that you have enough spoons to continue doing that thing
Yep.
is really like is the best thing that you can do. And as people pleasers, it's the best thing that you can do for the people around you too, right?
Yep.
Hmm.
If you want to keep doing stuff for people, you need to watch out for yourself so that you can continue to do those things, right?
Yep.
Right. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I think when I thought about like expectations around presence, one of the first things I thought about was this leans into a couple of different factors. It leans into the parasocial nature of streaming, but it also
Yep.
leans into the fact that when you are a streamer, you make a lot of friends with other streamers.
Yep.
And there is this like unspoken expectation that you be there for these other streamers as well.
Yes.
Like people
That
will
was one of my notes
apologize.
I forgot about.
They'll be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I haven't been to a stream in months. I'm the worst." And it's like, "What?"
It's
Like
fine.
I don't expect you to be at every single stream.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah,
of course,
I'm just gonna put it out there right now. I don't expect my other stream friends to come to my streams because like it's already a commitment to stream on its own. And like it's really cool when people jump in and say hi and like hang out and whatever, and that's great.
definitely.
But at the same time, like, cause like similar sorry. similar to like web comics, for me there was like this unspoken rule of like you're always going to retweet the other person's web comic, you're always going to go watch it, blah 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 blah. And it's like I don't want to. Like, hey, I love you, you're great, I'll share your stuff, but like at the same time, like I don't have the capacity to do it for everyone.
But if it's the expectation, then it becomes a chore, right? And
It
it
does.
Yes.
becomes that's that's what you're supposed to do instead of something that you are just doing because you like to do it, and then this becomes a job, and then
Mhm.
and then the joy just seeps out of it.
It
Which
really
is part of the
does.
reason, like for me, I knew things I didn't want to fall into going into streaming because I saw similarities with webcomics. And so I've tried really hard, but I've had to, like, I've found myself in that thing where I'm like, "Oh my god, this person's streaming at this person, but this person's doing it at the same time, and like who am I going to show up to?" And like, like thankfully you can have multiple windows up. But sorry. Um Definitely, like, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
But you're right.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, like having that expectation that you're gonna show up in somebody's stream, like I guarantee the streamer is fine.
Here's another side of that coin too. I have known people who would literally come into your stream to like say hi, how are you doing? And I think you can tell if someone's just making an appearance. Like they're
Yep.
not there to
Yeah.
engage with you. They're not there
Yep.
to like share this moment with you. They are there to save face and to make an appearance because they think it's expected of them.
Hey,
Yeah.
And
and real talk, I've been that person.
mhm,
Yep. Same. I mean, same.
I have too, and I don't like when I'm that person. Everyone
Yeah.
knows I'm a tab queen. I will have multiple streams up at any given time, but I do actually try to like follow a little bit of what's happening in each stream. And again, that's because my time is limited. So I
Yep.
kind of want to like share these moments with as many people as I can. Now, is the
Yeah.
quality of that moment a little bit diminished because I'm that distracted? Probably. I'm not going to disagree with that. I also have ADHD and distraction seems to be my best friend. So, um
Yay.
it,
Name of the
it's
game.
it's definitely valid to like say hi and then say like I'm gonna leave a lurk. And I
Yeah.
don't like
Lurking. Yeah.
I don't hold anything against that, but I definitely could tell like I had a couple of people I knew who would come in and like they would make a real big deal about like chatting for the first 30 seconds and like typing a lot of messages to make sure that their presence was like marked down in my head and then they would just vanish without a trace. And
Yeah.
it's like,
No,
okay, so
it's different where you need to come in and just lurk. Like that's different. Like I think in this case we're more speaking about people who like they're there for the networking.
yep.
And it's
And
obvious.
They're
it's
there to
obvious.
promote themselves, hope that
The
they
ones
get
that
a shout out, and then take off. Oh, go
the
ahead.
ones that require to announce their presence, essentially.
Yes. You can tell, like, there are plenty of times when I open a tab and I just don't say anything until, like, they raid out because I didn't need to announce my presence. I was just kind
Yeah.
of hanging out in the background. But, like, you can definitely tell when people are coming in to announce their presence.
But then there's
Yeah.
also this expectation that you are supposed to engage in the chat when you come. So like double sided. But like
It
I think we
is.
can all agree there's a difference between someone trying to come in and like show their face and like get attention versus someone who's coming in to just, sit there and be part of the thing and whatever. Like which is the same thing as like I've watched people's streams and not said anything because it's like I just don't have anything to contribute most of the time when I'm on a
Hmm.
chat. Sorry. So, like, and again though, I've totally been that person where I've been like, oh hey, what's up? Like, hi, like, like it happens.
It does. I definitely agree with what you said there, Nat. That
Any
any
promo
streamer's
channel.
Discord, yeah, that has a promo channel, like you can kind of tell there are certain people who will like just show up constantly to like post their live links, and you can
Yep.
tell when they're not active in the community because you're just like, wait,
Yep.
who are you?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And it
Do we want?
happens. Do we want to move to the question and
I
answer?
didn't know if Biscuit had anything.
Yeah, sorry, Biscuit. If you have anything you'd like
That's
to
okay.
contribute.
One of the things I dislike as a streamer or anybody that like somebody that does literally anything crafty is like the expectation of presence on social media. Like
Yes.
I have I have a soap shop, you know?
Yep.
I learned how to make soap. I taught myself how to make soap during the global situation, right?
Yep.
I hate posting on social media. Like it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's
It is.
it's it's come to a point where like, if you want to make a dent in people's brains, um, with your company name or with who you are or what you do, you have to post on like and not just one social media. No, 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 no,
No,
no,
no,
no.
no, no.
No, no, no. It has to be
All.
every social media. Like you got to do the Instagram posts. Oh, but you also have to do Instagram reels. Oh, wait, there's stories too. And then you have to go to TikTok. And then you have to do TikToks. And
Yep.
then you have to go to it was Twitter, now it's X.
X,
But
whatever.
like,
Blue Sky,
you know what I mean? Like
Mastodon.
Blue Sky,
blue
Choose
sky,
Facebook.
like
Mastodon,
pick
yeah.
one. Like, but
Facebook.
there's so many platforms, right? And it's so exhausting to repost the same content. One, just reposting the same content on like so many different platforms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to remember every login for every platform. But also, you know, making sure it's slightly different for each
Yep.
each platform, so that you're not just reposting the same thing if you've got the same people on multiple platforms.
Oh, I
I'm
totally
just
gave up.
there.
I just did the same thing
Yeah.
over. I'm like, whatever. I
My
don't care
my
anymore.
my presence on social media has definitely diminished due
Yeah.
to exhaustion. The
Yeah.
Yeah.
expectations that as a crafter, as a streamer, as a business owner, that this is the only way that I'm going to get customers
Is
frustrates me to no end.
Absolutely.
well, and like this reminds me of like when I was doing web comics, like so first of all, you normally posted a comic would launch at midnight on the day that it was supposed to come out. So you have to post about it when it comes out on midnight. Then you're supposed to post about it in the morning. Then you're supposed to post about it at lunchtime. Then you're supposed to post about it at daytime because dear God, if no one's seen the other posts. And then at the same time you have people who see all your posts and then they get annoyed that you're posting so much, but you're supposed to post so much. So like and that's the same thing. I was like, you're supposed to post about everything, but then you're not supposed to post about everything, and there's no winning.
Oh,
There's really no winning,
there's no
honestly.
winning with the
As,
algorithm.
as a
It's just
person who ostensibly runs several social media accounts for my job, there is no winning. No one
hmm
cares.
you're the professional. I believe
I
you.
had a dream that I created a new social media, and I kind of want to try to make it happen, but then it's another social media, so I was like,
It's the only one we need now, right?
hey, lurking is totally fine. Thanks for coming. Uh, did we want to do questions or?
We can do some question and answer. So the point that we were just talking about around expectations is the expectation of presence, whether it's social media presence or presence from like a networking standpoint, or even presence from like a genuine either parasocial or actual friendship
Yeah,
standpoint.
man, we should do a composed on that at some point.
We de-
Parasocial
Parasocial
relationships?
stuff.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
And like that is its own entire rabbit hole because I have like made genuine friends from
Yeah.
streaming, but
Yeah.
that's its own entire topic. So Nat says that she's eating, so if somebody else has anything that they want to contribute, that they may go first.
I guess
Um, go
I will
ahead,
go.
go ahead,
That's okay.
Blaze.
Okay. I'm just gonna touch on being present in a community, I guess. I remember several years back, um, I was part of a gaming group for Xbox, and it was okay. We hung out together. We just played, but then for whatever reason, the leader slash host of the organization made some changes that I wasn't particularly a fan of. Some of those changes included that you had to be online at X time and
Oh,
at
geez.
X number of times throughout the week. And if
Oh,
you
goodness.
didn't, there were going to be consequences. And at that point, I was just like, no, because um, again, it goes back to your time is money or currency or whatever, and you have to spend that time for you,
Yep.
and it's just a matter of who you're committing to. And then I'll also briefly touch on something that Biscuit said about being a crafter. Um, and as somebody who does piano stuff, you can't force creativity at all. I
No.
mean, it has to happen on your own terms in
Yep.
order for it to be uh good. At least in my opinion, and I'm sure I think you all share the same sentiment there. Um, and that was something that I had to struggle with too. And I think I talked about this point on the last podcast, and if I already said that, I'm sorry. But
It's okay.
It's fine.
I struggled for a while with, you know, making sure that my Instagram posts were of good quality. And
Mhm.
for a while I tried to make it regular and it just didn't work out. And then I just started trying to focus on making it the best that I could do, and it naturally happened that the frequency with which I was posting became less so, if that makes sense.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
No, that's understandable.
Yeah, the first story you shared, Blaze. I I was part of an end game Final Fantasy rating group for a while. And it's one of those things where you do have to commit to the time, right? Because you all have to do the thing together. But like it started to feel like a job
Hmm.
Yep.
to me. And I already had one of those. Like,
Didn't really want another one.
and
Yeah.
like and the thing that you said about like if they you had to be online at certain times, and if you weren't, there were consequences. What are they gonna do?
Kick you
Like
out
we're
probably, but
Yeah.
like okay, bye. Like
okay, bye.
Like, and
like
that's so frustrating to take something that's supposed to be a hobby and like a
yeah,
fun thing and then put restrictions on it.
Hmm.
Like, that's just unfair.
it
Um,
takes away the joy again.
yeah.
Like we're
Like,
supposed to be
again, there's
doing
a
this
difference with
thing.
like doing a rating thing, but like you said, like when it gets to like I've had so many friends who have played MMOs
Yeah,
who have just like look, it got to the point where it felt like a job. And like I actually had one person who was paid for doing like something with guild stuff, and then
right.
they're like, I'm not enjoying this. And then I'm like, okay, so like
Quit
what
doing
do you want to
it.
do about what do you want to do about it? Like you either like stay in it or you go, you know what, this is not valuable for me. Like I have better things I want to do with my time,
Yeah.
and
Um,
you go with
Well, and
that.
it kind of goes back to the thing that you said, Alan Grandpa, is that you have to make that determination with your
Yeah.
own,
And
because
it's so
your presence
hard.
and your time is important to you, and
It
you
can be
have to
so
make
hard
that
too when you
decision.
feel like a people pleaser, or when you are a
Ah,
people pleaser
yeah.
too,
wait,
because
say it with me again. Say it with me again.
You are a
You are
person
uh,
people,
worth
and you
pleasing.
are worth pleasing.
yeah.
Yes.
And I also want to point out what Distal's
Thank
place
you.
said was, we are adults, we have lives, value the time get people give you in the community,
Hmm.
which is really important. But yeah, it's so like, and again, I think it comes down to like what I said about having grace for yourself too, because it's so easy to be like, I should be able to do all this. In
There's
reality, it's
only
like
so much time.
there's only
Yeah.
so much time, there's only so much spoons. Like you have to take care of yourself.
This is what Blaze had mentioned about having an online gaming group reminds me of when I first started streaming, and some random dude on Twitter wanted to add me to his Discord, and he was one of those big streamers who is
Yep.
all about promoting the little streamers. And so like I joined the Discord out of morbid curiosity. I think I was like a fresh Twitch affiliate and I didn't really know what I was doing. And
I
I
feel like I
talked
remember
about
this.
this last time too. This
Yeah.
was the one where this guy had all these rules about how like you had to be supporting two other small streamers a day, you had to post in
Yep.
this channel how you were supporting them, and I like left after an hour because I was like Nope, this is not for
That,
me. It's
that's
absolutely not for me.
another compose we should talk about, or just maybe a panel we should do, is starting out streaming, because I'm thinking of the fact that we ran into those pitfalls, and then also you get the people who follow you because they want to get money out of you for emotes and stuff like that.
All those
Sorry,
graphic spots.
yeah, all those graphic spots. Just a mental note of
I'm making notes.
another.
I'm
Thank you.
making notes.
It's like the North Sea level marketing communities. Yeah,
Yep.
yep,
Yes.
yep, yep.
It really is.
We all learned, because we were all baby streamers. We all started streaming at the same time.
Yeah.
So we all have learned very around the same time of each of us, and so unfortunately, one person had to be the start of it, but
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Making real communities is difficult.
yeah.
And I think we've done a pretty good job, but we've had a lot of help,
Oh
right? I
yeah.
mean, Rodria and Island Grandpa and I met because of a different community that's also a nurturing, like kind environment. And I think, the more, I don't know, maybe this is like the socialist in me, but like I feel like making communities is like the only thing that we actually really are supposed to do as humans. Anyway, that's like a different thing.
That's a whole other conversation, but I mean, I agree
Yeah.
with you.
Did Nat want to say anything? I don't know if Nat's still eating.
Hi, I'm done eating my chicken nuggets.
Hell yeah.
Oh, jealous.
Man,
I got an air fryer for Christmas, so I had to try it.
Yes.
Anyway.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I can't stop thinking about what Fairy Biscuit said about like the posting is exhausting, because that's artists and streamers, but my other job is a freelancer, right? Like freelance graphic design. And a lot of that stuff, I mean, I have a normal job, but I'm trying to get clients as a freelancer, just so I can get started, get experience, and like coming off the ground from nothing like that is really difficult, because okay, you have to show that you know what you're doing. You have to show that you're willing and ready to meet with clients, meet with people, get that kind of communication started. And it's like, I definitely, I'm posting a lot when I can, but it's also like I'm not good at reels. They take a lot out of me. I'm have expertise in video editing on a computer, but video editing on a phone is so different and so much more complicated.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like, then it's like, well, now I have to do that. Like, even though I don't have TikTok, I still have to make reels. And it's like, well, how is anyone going to find out about me otherwise? It's like I'm just some guy. Like, I'm just a little guy. So it's that's a, and then it's like me having expectations on other people to be like, please reach out to me. Like, please hit me up, please. And one of the reasons why I didn't want to do like freelance photography was because that was a big fear of mine, right? Like, I was like, I have to make the effort. I have to put myself out there like that, and that's like not something I'm super comfortable with it, or super like ready to do. But now I'm like, okay, if we're in God's year 2024, like, when what is the other way? Like, what is there? It doesn't feel like there's another way, even when you're bone tired of posting that you're available for hire.
I haven't made a TikTok in probably well over a year. I still sing in my raid song every single time that I'm on TikTok, and the queer note gives me shit every single time because they're like, no, you're not. You never use TikTok. And I'm just like, stop.
I have a rule. I have stayed off of TikTok this whole time, and I said once I graduate, I will have TikTok. So I had a bunch of people who were excited that I was going to have TikTok this December, and then unfortunately things got delayed.
Yeah,
so
I like have an account,
this
but I
summer,
I don't have the app anymore.
Yeah.
I had a friend who ended up getting like sucked into TikTok. I'm talking like we were on vacation at the beach, and granted there was some other stuff going on, but she would like sit in her bed and scroll TikTok, and I'm just like, the beach is right over there, right?
Hi, Shay is playing.
Hi, Shay.
Social media can be super exhausting. It feels like you got to do everything sometimes, and I don't want to do everything.
There are expectations around doing everything, making your own emotes, making your own overlays. Like, you have to have a raid trailer, you have to have a channel trailer. It's a lot. And now I say
do a panel on that.
I know. I say you have to in air quotes because you don't. And that's what this entire conversation is about, is like all these expectations and how to navigate them.
Yep.
Fox says short form video content. take so much effort, and I hate that the algorithm forces you to do them to get seen. It really does.
Yeah.
And like
Social
from
media is basically a job. Yep.
it is. And like from my perspective, I can get in my own head sometimes about trying to do all of this and feeling like it either falls like flat, or like the algorithm doesn't pick it up. You don't get seen. You put all this
Yep.
work in and you feel like, what was it for? Was it ever
Yeah.
for me? And maybe it should be.
Yep. Yep. And also, I'll be like, yeah, it definitely is a job. I've actually done social media as a job, which I think is part of the reason why I hate doing social media. Uh, and yeah, oh,
I
thank
can't
you for
nod
having
any
this
harder.
convo, you all. Great. Oh, thanks, Shay. That was really nice.
About to film an
Um,
entire week of reels today for see, like that would be
oh,
the way that I would do it, is like sit down,
Batch.
make a bunch of stuff at once, and then like slow drip it.
It's the only way to do
yeah,
it.
that
It
would be
really
easier
kind of
for me.
is, but yeah, it's still a lot of work, and it can still sometimes feel like the payoff is not that great, and you have to ask yourself, are you doing it because you think it's expected of you, or because you think you
Yep.
committed to it, or because this presence is something people want to see from you, or are you doing
Yep.
it because you want to do it?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it comes down to you're selling your time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you want to spend your time doing all the social medias? Is it worth it? Does it make you feel good doing all the social medias? Or maybe is it better to take a back seat to it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, sorry,
Well,
your stats reset in the new year.
what Shay was saying, about her family keeps telling me I need to start doing YouTube stuff too, and
Oh
I'm like,
God.
I barely feel like I'm doing Twitch stuff.
Yeah.
At that point, I feel like you don't necessarily have to choose to do both of them. Maybe just do one, and then if you have time, do the other one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
I
it's that
will say,
expectation of like, if you're on Twitch, oh, you're on YouTube as well, right?
yep.
Like, no,
Doesn't have to
no,
mean
because
that.
I will say there's
because
a
I don't
nice
want to
easy
spend.
transfer button, but then you still have to do stuff to the YouTube thing. So
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah,
like I started
because
doing. Go ahead.
editing videos again takes up more of your time.
Lots of brain space too.
I have honestly
Really
decided
does.
that I
Oh
don't edit
yeah.
anything anymore, and that's probably like I know that again with expectations, not having an edited video means I will have less engagement. But you know what? That's what works for me, and that's what I want for Island Grandpa. My Island Grandpa. I don't want a tech savvy grandpa. I'm a grandpa who's, you know, chilling on the beach.
Once
I
again,
wish.
Do
hashtag
I
about
look
this.
like I have time to video edit?
Do
No.
I look like I have time to video edit? Do I look like I have the computer skill? I mean, I do. I'm a millennial. I know what I'm doing with the computer, but I'm playing a retired grandpa. He doesn't know crap about how to do whatever, which is why anytime I have a technical issue, it's great because I can just be like, "Oh, it's the technology goblin, Siri. What do I do?" Um, but that's the thing. It comes down to again, like what do you want? What works for you? Because what looks good for some person is different for another person, and we all have different spoons and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So
I also enjoyed not being stressed out.
Yes,
yeah,
which is
yeah. What?
a big
What?
key.
It's
Fox
almost like we have more to
It
offer to
happens
our
sometimes.
communities when we're not so
Fox is
burnt
being
out all the
flexible
time.
for everything.
Fox is saying you've got total control over a lot of these things, and letting go of these
Yep.
perceived expectations is huge. There are many paths to success. They don't all involve social, short form video, etc.
Yep.
And I will agree 100%. And this will probably come into play in our fourth discussion point of healthy versus unhealthy
Yes.
expectations. So, if we're.
Yeah,
Distal, thank you so much for the sub.
Oh, nice.
Excited.
By the way, guys, if you didn't know, Distal's Place is a Dungeons and Dragons group Twitch
Oh.
stream.
Oh yeah, immediate
Yeah.
follow.
Recommend
Yeah.
checking
Immediate.
in.
Oh, you said the magic word of D&D.
I sure
so,
did say the magic word.
by the way, after this, we need to talk about D&D.
Yes.
I have stuff
Wait.
about it that I keep
Yes.
forgetting to bring up.
I'm making a
So.
running list of all the things that we
Thank you. Thank you for
I
that.
need to talk about D&D while it's on my brain. Not right now, but some point.
yes.
Yes. So if we're ready, I can start on my talking point, because I think we did the forum, we did the Q&A. so we can move things along here.
Yep.
So my talking point for expectations was around completionism. And there's a lot of different ways that completionism can look like.
This is a good one for you.
It's a very
It is
good
a
one
good
for
one
me.
for you.
It honestly, like, I've been talking about this for probably like all month now. Well, last month too. It's been what, like 6 days? So yeah, I've been talking about this since like most of December. Completionism has a lot of different things that it looks like. It's not just like saying, okay, I've picked up this video game, now I must beat it and I must milk every ounce of content out of it.
God.
But
Yeah.
that is definitely, it's definitely a part of the conversation. So, the main thing I want to talk about today is completionism, trying to finish everything you started. I don't think it's possible. I'm gonna be honest with you and say I don't think as humans we are meant to set out and complete every single task we have ever started in our lives, and it's such a hard thing to let go of. And it's something I personally have struggled with a lot because this leads back to commitment, but I feel like when I start something, I make a commitment to it. And I hold myself to that commitment of saying, "Oh, are you sure you don't want to finish this?" I'm gonna start this conversation talking about just general video games. We all probably at this point have a nice backlog of video games. Maybe video games that we have started at some point and kind of fallen off of. Maybe there was a difficulty spike and we didn't feel like coming back to it. Maybe it just didn't hold your attention. But there's still that guilt about, well, I spent money on this and I said I was going to enjoy this, and the only way to do that is to complete it. As a kid, I started playing Ocarina of Time, and I have still to this day not beaten Ocarina of Time. We started it
That's
on
okay.
stream in August, and I finished the Forest Temple, so I'm about to move on to the Fire Temple. I am still beating myself up over the fact that I haven't streamed it since August. I am gonna go back and finish it, because I promised myself I was gonna beat it. And that's separate from the expectation of completing it. Shay's like, I just bought 2 new games. Yeah, I bought a lot of games during the Steam Winter Sale, so now I have Dredge. I picked up Sunken Land, which is like Raft, but different, like different gameplay mechanics. It seems pretty cool.
It's fun.
I'm gonna enjoy checking it out, I'm sure. But, so there's just this expectation about finishing what you started. You know, you spend your money, you spend your time starting something, and for some reason that little upfront investment makes you feel like in order for it all to be worth it, you have to see it through the whole way. And I don't think that's fair. I think as humans, we talked about how our time is a resource that we have to budget and figure out how we want to spend. So you have to ask yourself, are you getting enjoyment out of doing this? Or are you just finishing it because you started it and now you feel this expectation weighing on you of saying, oh, I guess I better finish this. So that kind of also leans into my next talking point, which is starting a game on stream and then having this expectation finishing it. I will say that one second. My train of thought is in here somewhere. I will say that I think if you are making these commitments to yourself and for yourself, that you like a game and that you want to finish it and see it the whole way through, that's okay. But I think when you do these things because you feel like they're expected of you and you would rather be doing anything else, I think it becomes apparent. I think I think people can tell, like, oh, you are playing this game, but you'd really rather play this other game. Like, you're not into it. You're just kind of trudging through it, and it's a chore, and it's a job, and it leads to burnout, which we also talked about.
And quitting the game is completely valid.
Yeah, like, putting aside a game is valid, and also telling yourself, like, alright, well, this was just a limited, like, just tell yourself, This was just a limited run series on Twitch. This was not a full playthrough series. Like, you're allowed to make those calls for yourself. You don't have to assume that every single game you ever play on stream has to be a full playthrough. I'm gonna try to go back through and think of the games that I've started on stream and not finished, and I'm gonna do this experiment, and I want you guys to do it with me, and just let go of those games. Like, if they're not bringing joy into your life, you're allowed to let it go. I think I started Pokemon Mystery Dungeon XD on the Switch. I love Mystery Dungeon. I've played through Mystery Dungeon probably a good, 8 times. I don't need to finish it on stream. I know how the game ends, and I really enjoy it. But I don't need to set aside and budget my time to finish it on stream. Rune Factory Frontier. I've actually never seen the end of that one. It's kind of a janky game. It came out sometime in the 2000 era, and we actually even encountered a bug on stream that made me have to start over. And that also kind of set me back a couple of months because I was committed to trying to get my save file back to where I was off stream so I could pick it back up. And I picked it back up, played for a little bit, and then promptly lost Steam, which happens when things don't go to plan, or when you're playing an old game and it gets kind of janky and kind of frustrating. You're allowed to say, yeah, alright, that was fun, I'm good. What else? I know there's others. Harvestella. I've heard good things about that game, and I would like to return to it, but I can also just, put it in my Switch and play it by myself. Don't have to stream it. Honestly, even this podcast, Composed. I forget when our first episode of Composed happened. It was probably over the summer sometime. We told ourselves up front, yes, we want to do an episode 2, but we don't need to make a big thing about this. We don't need to, push ourselves to, churn out an episode once a month or once every other month. There is no need to, put ourselves through that, especially because I think talking about mental health topics requires you to be in a decent mental health headspace in the first place. And if you push yourself to do too much, burnout will happen. And I also agree with what Island Grandpa said earlier, that the quality might not really be there because you're forcing yourself to do something for the sake of getting more content out quickly, and it might not be as polished as it could have been if you just gave yourself a little bit more time and space. The last thing I want to talk about with completionism is this one kind of leans into my art roots a little bit, but it still plays into the idea of creating a series of something, full playthrough series of a game or different episodes of a podcast. During was it October, I participated in Stream Inc., which was a challenge where you do art every single day based around a prompt, and you get to choose. The whole point of Stream Inc. Catrian bought some of my Stream Inc. trading cards. They are still on sale. I mean, I'm not gonna complain if I keep them all because they look great on my cork boards. But the whole point of streaming was to challenge yourself to do art every single day, once a day. And I have struggled in the past with those kinds of daily challenges. And I think because it is a commitment, you promise yourself, I want to participate in this. I would like to make art once a day. I'd like to do all of these prompts. I had a couple of times where I ended up doing 4 of the trading cards in a single day because I had fallen behind. Granted, I was unemployed at the time, so I was okay. I'm more than okay with setting aside time for artistic endeavors. However, if I had been working full time, I have a feeling I probably wouldn't have finished And it can be hard to sit with that. Like, if you promised yourself, I want to do this, and you're not able to deliver, it can be really hard to give yourself that grace. I started some trading cards for the Moonstone Island spirits. It's a critter collecting game that we've played a couple of times on stream. And I really like these 5 trading cards. And I told myself multiple times, I am not going to commit to doing a trading card for every single spirit. There are 69 spirits. Nice. You know they did that on purpose. Um,
Nice.
and like, I mean, I've done 5 cards, so yeah, I'm not gonna. There's no point in committing to doing all 69. I think in my head, I sometimes get wrapped up in how cool could it be if XYZ happened? And that leads, I think, to this expectation of completionism, of setting out to accomplish the things that I started. Well, there's a part of me that's very overambitious and sometimes not extremely realistic. So, like, I come up with these ideas of, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could XYZ, not understanding that there just aren't enough resources, not enough time, not enough energy. It can't always go to plan. I had started, I think I still have it up on my Ko-fi. I have a Dave the Diver print that I made. And I really like how it turned out. So I got in my head and I said, ooh, what if we make a series of these? And so I sketched out like, I think 5 or like 4 new ones. So it would have been a set of 5. And I started on the second one and I just never went back to it. And that's one of the ones I don't feel quite as guilty for, because looking back, I'm asking myself, what would that have like really done for me? Like, it's Copic art practice, which is not bad. And there is, again, there's a sense of satisfaction for doing something cool and sticking to it. For example, we have been doing the Discord draw-alongs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we set a very reasonable goal of just doing 4 of the different pictures. And we're going to be doing the 4th one either on January 20th, or we might push it out a week. I think Nat said she couldn't make it. Lynn, you said you might not be able to make it. And
I've got a
so
game.
if there's enough reason to push it out a week, we will push it out a week. It's just so difficult sometimes to balance out the satisfaction of completing something cool and feeling that sense of accomplishment when you finish something that you started. And then there's a struggle with balancing that out against how much energy it's going to take to set out and do what you started, and whether it's actually ultimately worth it in the end. I'm trying to like find a good way to frame this. There have been a couple of games I finished on stream that I feel really good about, like starting something and seeing it the whole way through.
Yep.
But I don't think that sense of pride and accomplishment is something that you should expect of yourself for every single thing you do. I don't know
Yep.
that that's possible.
You
I
just gotta do things just to do them.
that is what it feels like sometimes, just doing things for the sake of doing them. And if the enjoyment's not there, then was it really worth it? Like, sure, you finished the game, but were you having fun with it the whole time? That's something you have to, like, reflect inward to know. Do we want to move on to the open forum here? I'm curious about everyone else's opinions toward completionism.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to jump in here. I hold on. Screen is okay. So you mentioned, are you like making the determination of like, are you getting enjoyment out of this versus is it just something that you're doing as like an obligation to Who, right? To well, in your mind, you're doing it's an obligation to your followers, or it's an obligation to, I don't know, Twitch, the conglomerate. Um,
Jeff Bezos.
but it's one of those, like, I really relate with I think it was Shay that said it in chat, that like, you feel guilty. Like, if you start a game on stream and you don't really want to play the game on stream anymore, but you want to play the game, you can't, like, personally, I started Skyward Sword on stream,
Oh my gosh.
and I'd love to finish that game. I'd love to play it. But because I'm not streaming it anymore, just like, I feel guilty that I'm not streaming it if I play it by myself. Which, like,
Which is
no one
totally fine
cares.
to play
Like,
things on your own.
yeah, like, if I wanted to play 2 levels of that and then, like, come back to stream and be like, "Well, I played 2 levels of it. Here we are now." No one would care. But in my mind, like, it's like, "Oh, well, I'm not doing it on stream. Like, this is my stream." And it is that completionist mindset of, like, this is the thing that I have to do, like, and this is these are the expectations that go along with that, and these are the things that you are obligated to do when it comes to this kind of stuff. And also, I just want to toot my own horn
Toot toot
and
toot
and
toot.
and commiserate a little bit, because Shay also mentioned NaNoWriMo. I've participated in
Yeah.
NaNoWriMo for probably close to 7 years now, and I've
Wow.
never finished it until this year.
Woo.
Toot toot. But yeah, no, it sucks, right? Like, they set you up this, you have to do this crazy goal, and it's like an actually insane goal. And I had to make real physical changes with the way that I managed my time in order to do it. And I will never do it again. Because so it's, those expectations of completing this lofty, like, societal driven, like, goal. NaNoWriMo is 50,000 words, by the way.
It is.
That's
Yeah.
too many
That's a
words.
lot.
It's a
Too
lot.
many.
I find it fascinating that you say you did it and you're like celebrating your accomplishment and then you're like, I'm never doing it again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No.
Like, I think
I
that's the most telling.
I I want to speak a little bit about video games just because it was brought up. So, first of all, like I'm a big fan of a particular series and I have they're big RPGs and I have 100%ed those things. So, just speaking from a literal perfectionist, completionist standpoint, I have spent time finding all the stupid little items, all the different stuff. And same thing. I'm like, I finally 100% 3 games of this RPG, and I will never do it again because it didn't actually contribute to my fun. Like, for some people, that's fun for them, and that's cool. Like, if that's your thing, go for it. But feeling obligated that you have to 100% a game, please don't. Please don't feel obligated because I will tell you most of the stuff that's in a game to 100% it is not worth it.
900
Um
Koroks.
Yeah, I was
900.
just
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah. So um also it's completely valid to start a game and go, "You know what? I'm not feeling it." And end it. Even if you're streaming it or if you're playing it on your personal time. I have had a problem this whole year. So video games is one of my ways to de-stress and stuff. And one of the things I do is I play video games with my husband. Like we tend to play like RPGs so that we can make decisions together, but he doesn't like to play games as much and I love playing games. So for him it's like watching a movie, but also we make decisions together and stuff. So like we've done the Mass Effect series, Dragon Age, blah blah blah. So this year though, we have tried 2 or 3 different games now. And I have had to be the one to say I can't do this anymore because the gameplay was not fun for me. So like loved the story, wanted to know more, but the gameplay was just too difficult for me. Even playing like I'm huge proponent of play on story mode, play on, any of those games where it's like you're supposed to get good or whatever. Story mode's amazing. Thank you. Bless developers who do story modes, assist modes. Like, I know you've been playing Celeste lately, Redria. I played Celeste, but like I'm not a roguelike person. There's one roguelike I've liked, that's Hades, which is weird. But they also have a god mode on there. Bless Celeste for having this like tons of different actual accessibility options. Like you can either play it where you still have a challenge, or you can play it where you're on god mode or whatever, all that stuff. So I was able to still play and enjoy Celeste. But if I didn't have those options, I probably would have stopped it. And it really sucks because I want to know the story, but it's not worth it to me. If I'm not having fun, and if you're streaming and you're not having fun, people are going to pick up on it. And guess what? It's okay to say, you know what? This isn't working for me. It sucks when it keeps happening, but I'm like
Kind of,
starting to be like a little bit concerned about my abilities, but um
well, it's one
it's
of those
valid.
things, right? Because like this is what you're doing to de-stress, and if it makes
Yeah,
you more stressful, what's the point?
Yeah.
exactly.
There have been a handful of times on stream where I have like actually been frustrated by things. One of those times was Ocarina of Time getting into Jabba Jabba's belly and
Yep.
trying very hard to remember like from my childhood what to do and where to go, feeling like every single enemy in there was just kind of like kicking my ass because I didn't have the
Yep.
boomerang, because you need the boomerang to do stuff in there. So
Yep.
like, and I could definitely tell like chat was picking up on the fact that like I was salty about it. And
Yep.
sometimes it can be fun to be in a stream where the streamer is salty, because like there's that sense of like accomplishment together. Like you went on the journey together. They were frustrated with you, they were frustrated for you. Like they celebrate they celebrate the win, they grieve the loss. You know, stuff like that happens. The Mario Final test was one of those times too. And like
That's good to know.
sometimes that's fine, but if you are like truly trying to stream to be like, this is my relaxation time, this is my de-stress time, this is my like I want to turn it off time, maybe that's not a good fit for you, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Can I also, the people who are so against looking up guides for things, not that I think one of
Me
your
too.
those
That's
people
what I
would
was gonna that was gonna be my next point, is please use guides if you
Yep.
want.
yeah, like
Anyway.
if you would like to look something up, like that's not gonna take away your enjoyment of the thing, and
10
that's the
year old
most
me
important.
was on game FAQs like every other
Yeah.
day
I have paused streams to
to
look
look
stuff
things
up.
up.
And like I'll normally talk through stuff and whatever. Like I don't normally like pause it and put it on a like queue waiting, because like I
Yeah.
can still talk and chat to people. But like I'm a huge proponent for using guides.
Oh yeah.
Um I like, yes, there are sometimes where I want to play something where I'm blind, but like for the most part, like I mean, especially anyone who watched my Zelda Ocarina
Oracle.
Oracle of Ages.
The other O.
There were some other areas. There's no way I would have gotten through without a guide. No way. And I love those games, Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons.
Hmm.
Love those games. Those are like one of my top nostalgia points. Could not get through it without a guide.
Yep. I'm gonna derail just briefly here to talk about Palia. It's a game that I enjoy. Except there.
The wiki for that game is like my homepage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they've added like they basically have vault bundles, which I relate to Stardew Valley Community Center bundles, where you have to
Okay.
go out and find things. The
I'm
two
new to Palia, so I'm still learning. I don't even have a house yet.
you'll get there.
Yeah.
So two of the bundles have added things called Ember Seeker medallions, and now there's Storm Seeker medallions. Basically, they have just gone and hidden 6 chests in Bahari. And there's no riddle, there's no clues. You are just wandering around and hoping you run into them. So I was like, that's
Oh my
not fun
God.
for anyone. I'm looking up a guide.
No.
There's one that made me so angry because I explored. I went down this place. It's like in a mine, there's a hole, and then in that hole, there's a cave with vines that you can walk through, and then like you can go down again, and then there's like this ancient ruins area. And so I went down there the first time I found it, and there was like a random treasure chest that had it's got a like loot pool to it, and I was like, oh cool. And then I couldn't climb back out, so I just like teleported home and I left. They have hidden an Ember Seeker and a Storm Seeker box down there, which
Yeah.
kills
Oh
me because,
no.
well, first off, I went down there to get the Ember Seeker box, and I'm like, I would never have gone back down here because there was nothing, like, I got what was down here,
Uh-huh.
and then
Yeah.
I left. And then they put a Storm Seeker box down there, and I'm like, who would go back here a second time?
Yeah.
Not me.
Oh, I like what Shay is saying. When I first played Stardew and found out about the wiki, like, oh my god, it just added to my enjoyment. It's nice to have
Exactly.
access to everything going on in the game if you need it. Seriously, like, especially games like open-ended where you're doing like farm simulation and stuff like that. Like, I like having the information to know, or like even guides, like articles on like, gaming sites and stuff that are like, here's the top 10 tricks for getting into whatever. Like, I play a lot of older games.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like, okay, what are some things I need to know? Because like I might have like, for instance, I'm playing the Animal Crossing on GameCube, which I'm very tempted to start streaming because the
Do it.
animals are jerks.
They're so
Um,
mean.
They're
they're
so
so mean.
salty.
I have so many screenshots right now from playing Animal Crossing GameCube because of how mean they are. Um, but part of me just wants to play it now. Um, but or stream it. But I looked stuff up of like what what can I know about this game, because I've obviously, like, I've played up to New Horizons. Things are going to be really different. Um and like from that I learned, hey, by the way, when it was on GameCube you could put codes in and get stuff. So, guess who's getting 30,000, 90,000 bells a play session, because screw you, Tom Nook, I'm going to pay off my house as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Um, but which, by the way, shout out to everyone who posted all the codes. Game facts, you got it. Thank you. But like, that's the thing, is like, also you're gonna like, there's special stuff that like, there's kind of this expectation of like, oh, only the people who really like put in the hard work and stuff should see. And it's like, no, like everyone, it's in there. People should be able to enjoy it. So like
Yeah.
being able to find out like, hey, by like, for example, like in Dragon Age Inquisition, there's a trivia guy that will randomly show up in your bedroom. But not but in like a closet, and you have to find him, and then he quizzes you on various Dragon Age stuff, and then you can get this like cool silly but very cool weapon. But like I would not have known that if I hadn't read a guide about it. So like I just, sorry for the derailment there, but just guides.
But
Shout out
like,
to anyone who makes guides.
I feel like it kind of helps with the whole like completionism thing because there's a lot of things that I like solving puzzles by myself, but there's a lot of stuff that like I would never have figured out without looking it up.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the paleo stuff, like, that's not even really a puzzle. It's just like,
we just hid it somewhere. Go find it.
yeah. So,
Um, Biscuit, did you have any input on completionism and expectations around that?
Yeah, I think that honestly, like the wanting to 100% games on stream is more like yourself putting those expectations on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I've started games thinking I'm going to enjoy a game, and then I was like, oh no, HAL, like heck no, this game is not something that I'm. Yeah, I just don't want to be terrified.
Yeah.
Little Nightmares. I tried it. My people told me, oh yeah, it's a great game. Like I've never heard of this game. Like I'll totally play it. Yeah, noped out 5 minutes in. 5 minutes. I'm not even kidding. There's a clip of me noping the F out
Alvin says that was a
so
good
fast.
stream.
Big Baldwin. Yeah. Um, and like the other thing is too is like when you play you switch games and you want to go back and complete them, you get so lost as to where the hell you are
Yeah.
Yeah.
in that game.
yeah.
Like there's a game that I started and I can't even remember what it's called right now. This it's got a really good story. It's got good gameplay. It's got dice in it. Like basically, it's kind of like a dice card game fighting style thing. but it's also action, and it's so much fun. I'm so lost as to what direction I'm supposed to be going in right now. I'm going to have to, oh, look up a guide, to figure out what I'm supposed to do next because
Lost
I
in
lost
random.
momentum.
Lost in
That's what it
random.
is. Lost
Yeah.
in random.
I
Thank
was
you.
like, I feel like I remember
It's
watching you play that game, and I
it's
was even a
so
little bit
good.
lost, but it looked cool.
It's so good, and the art style is fantastic, and it's such a good game, and I definitely recommend it. But again, I'm lost in random. Like,
Yes,
it's funny how that happens.
isn't it?
But yeah, like completionism for me is like I played Breath of the Wild. I played it off stream because I knew there was going to be things that I was going to be frustrated about
Mhm.
and going to take me forever. And then because I'm me, I decided that I was going to find every shrine, I
Oh
mean
boy.
every shrine, and do every side quest.
That's hard in
By the
Breath
way,
of the
there are
Wild.
74 side quests in Breath of the Wild. Um, and I did all of them. And then I was looking at the Koroks and I was like, nah,
I'm good.
like, nah.
I even said I was gonna get like I was doing a Korok run of my Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild stream. I think I got
remember
like
that.
200 or 300. And I'm glad that I just pretended I never said that. I'm just like, no, I wasn't being serious. Pff, I gotcha. Classic. You fell for
Right,
that?
but like,
Ugh.
right, like 100% in games. I have stream games. Like I have in my Steam, I have a whole category of Steam stream games that I want to play, but then I feel bad about not playing them on stream. But then I was
Yep.
like, but I don't really want to. I don't have the time to stream right now. I have like 10 minutes to play a game. So like loading it up and figuring it all out and like, a lot more than 10 minutes
Oh
at a
yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
they sit in the backlog and eventually they will be played
Someday.
at some points.
You know,
Um
At some points.
something that Island Grandpa said earlier, I kind of wanted to bring it up because um we're talking about completing games on stream, completing, you have a Steam library full of games that you're
Hmm.
and you have there's this feeling of incompleteness, of shame, guilt, like that you're like you feel bad, right? I maybe I'm not the right person to talk about this, but I think that there might be a connection between feeling like we need to complete something and neurodivergence.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that that's a little more difficult to navigate, right? Because, I can sit here and say like, well, who cares? Right? But sometimes you can't turn that part of your brain off, right?
Hmm.
Um,
It's
yeah.
reminding me of a meme I saw recently. That an ADHD meme of it's that generic meme template with the guy looking at the one girl and the other girl looking at the guy and stuff. But you have the girl looking at the guy is just like duplicated a bunch and it says all my other projects. You have the guy saying me looking at and then the person is a new project. And
Yeah.
it's like all my other unfinished projects. And like I feel that with streaming of like, okay, if I'm gonna start a game, I want to finish it. But I have all these projects, and I think actually, like, I was just thinking about this. Um, you can also get yourself stuck of like, I have to play this game on stream, but then you're
Hmm.
not feeling like playing the game on stream. So
Mhm.
like
Hmm.
for me, like I have said that I want to finish my Legend of Zelda playthrough. I did Oracle of Ages. I want to do Oracle of Seasons. So like part of me has been stuck of feeling like, well, I should start with Oracle of Seasons. But now it's like right now I'm in the mood of like I want to stream Animal Crossing on GameCube.
Right.
And while I want to continue that playthrough of Zelda, you know what? It's been a year since I've played. Well, maybe less than because I guess I streamed Final Fantasy 14 not too long ago.
Oh, that's right.
But it's also okay to change your schedule and change your mind about stuff
Hmm.
and not finish something or not do the thing you said you were going to do. Like it's okay to change your mind and change things. We're humans. uh with feelings and emotions and needs. Reggie
Okay.
will be right back.
I am back.
Oh,
Hello
okay,
there.
awesome. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was like, I
Um,
don't really want to interrupt right now, so I'm just gonna turn off my
no, no,
camera
no,
and step
no, no, it's
away.
okay. But yeah, like I definitely feel that like as a neurodivergent person, it's really easy to want to do the next project and
Yeah.
not necessarily finish the project, even though I
Right.
want
But
to
then
finish
there's
all
the
the
guilt,
projects.
right?
And
There's
then
the
I had
guilt
guilt that I
There
didn't
is.
finish the project. Case in point, I have like 6 different craft things I committed to doing while I'm on a school break right now. Committed to too many things. So now I'm going to have to start saying, no, I can't do this thing right now.
Yep. I do think I think the drive for completionism, like even not necessarily around streaming or games, but around craft projects, etc. I do think there is an aspect of neurodivergence that kind of magnifies or amplifies that feeling, and then the
Yes.
guilt that's associated with it too.
Yeah.
I have a to-do list. I've got some charity September things that I'm still trying to wrap up. I did finish the one Pride Craft reward that I
Woo.
owed out from forever ago. So like it's not inherent to completing video games or completing like streaming through an entire game on stream. There's a lot of ways that completionism comes into play.
Yeah.
To-do lists
Definitely.
help,
Yes.
but
Writing things
also
down.
learning how to not overextend has been helpful too. Like September compared to Thankmas, whereas September there were a lot of individual, like if you donate you can get XYZ kind of things. Thankmas was a lot more toned down, like if you donate I'll draw your character in this canvas that we're doing.
Yeah.
um I'm
I
gonna
think we could probably open it up.
I think so. I'm gonna scroll up because we did have some really good like talking points
Hmm.
through chat while I was going through my thing. A lot of people gave up on Skyward Sword. I also know a lot of people gave up on Ori and the Blind Forest, and whether that's like it could be a difficulty thing. That's for sure, but
That game's kind of hard.
it's very hard. I love
Very
that
hard.
game, but it's
Also, I
hard.
want to say for Skyward Sword, the port was bad in my opinion. I just have to
Mm.
say that the port to
Like,
Switch was bad. They really did bad with the motion controls. I'm a huge Zelda fan. I've played every single Zelda more than once, and I played Skyward Sword on Wii, and it had its issues when it was on Wii, and I really think the port to Switch was just not handled very well. And I think it's made it less accessible to more people.
You know what? I'm just gonna take that and I'm gonna put it right here, and it's gonna make me
I
feel better.
literally gave my copy away because
Wow.
I was like, this I can't the the motion controls that they decided to do, I just couldn't. So I was like, I'm not going to enjoy this. I'm not going to force myself through this. I have played this game once at least, so I can like for me that was like
You know
I
how it
I did
ends.
the thing,
So.
I know how it ends. Which is why knowing how the motion controls were, I was like, there's no way I'm actually going to play to the end. But um yeah, I gave my copy away.
I think I'm gonna give myself permission right now to just
mm.
play it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not on stream.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games that like I'm pretty sure I did open my Skyward Sword package, but I have not put it in my Switch once because I told myself, well, I could stream it. Like
Yep.
it's a
Mhm.
roadblock too to feel like I don't know if this is an urge for completionism or just an urge to like get as much content out into the world as humanly possible. And say like,
Mm.
well, what if I stream that game? I had asked earlier, how many people have ever made an off-stream save file for something? Because I have. I like cloned my Pikmin 4 save so that I could keep playing it off stream. I made a second Dave the Diver save so that I could play it off stream. And usually, I think I had a spare Wildflower save, and I think I had a spare Harvestella save. I usually like thought I would try to discover new stuff live on stream, but even that's not always possible, and that's not always realistic to expect that of yourself.
Yeah.
I want to point out one of the comments that Shay made that I don't think we read about that came up when we were talking about Skyward Sword. But Shay was saying, I have this issue where if I start a game on stream, I can only play it on stream, even if I really want to play it offline. It makes it hard to enjoy playing games offline because I feel guilty I'm not streaming. This is
Ah,
a mood.
yeah,
Mhm.
huge.
Like I was just
Mhm.
saying, like I kind of have locked myself up because I feel like the next game I should stream should be Oracle of Seasons. However, I don't want to do it right now. I want to do something else like Animal Crossing. And that's okay, but that guilt is real of like, oh, I should, or if I get like I just got Star Ocean Second Story R. And I was like, and I kind of not the same as streaming, but still like a feeling like a commitment. I was like, oh, I should play this with my husband. And I played like the first like half hour or so, and I was like, you know what? Actually, I kind of want to play this by myself. This is a game that I played originally when I was a teenager, and I kind of want to relive that nostalgia by myself. And like that's hard for me to be like, I don't want to play this thing with you, but that's completely valid to want to play games by ourselves.
It is.
Mhm.
It, I mean, I struggle with this. Again, I think this leans into the people pleasing nature of streaming, performing, like entertaining, having any sort of online presence. I find that when I'm doing art for someone else, I tend to know what I'm doing a little bit more solidly than when I decide I just want to make art for the sake of making art. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to do something for yourself is hard and it's scary and it requires a lot more thought than doing something for someone else.
Biscuit, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
If anyone in our VC has anything that they want to add, that's there. You're welcome to unmute. And if not, we can. Does anyone else need a break? I was able to kind of step away for a quick BRB, but
I'm good either way.
okay, because we can move into our final talking point, which is healthy and unhealthy expectations.
Nat says all my thoughts have been said. Blaze, did you have something?
Um, I just wanted to like emphasize one point that I think you had made, Catherine, about having like an inherent need to complete something. Um, but first,
Woo!
go out on a limb here and say that I think all y'all completed that song in your head,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes,
I
and then
did.
all of my skin itched off when you didn't finish it.
So, I think that it's an inherent feeling to need to complete something, and this came as a pretty important lesson for me in college. Um, as I progressed in my computer science career, the assignments became harder and harder, and at one point there was one class that even the professor was like, "Hey, it's completely okay if you don't finish this." Um,
That's real chill of him.
but still, I would feel that I had to finish it, even if I was running up against, the deadline. And there were a lot of cases where it actually did stress me out, where I feel like I was trying all these different things and nothing worked out with my program or whatever. Um, and again, this is the thing that I had to learn over time, where I eventually realized that it's okay to not get 100% on every single assignment. You know,
Oh
that,
my gosh! Yes! Yes! Can I say one of my biggest lessons I've learned this past year?
yeah, sure.
Sorry, just like I didn't even think about this with the perfectionism thing, but like I have busted my butt this whole last since 2020 of trying to get the perfect grades. And I don't know why, because I definitely didn't have perfect grades in high school, but I've had this like I'm doing college, I have to have 100% 90s, whatever. C's get degrees, friends. It's okay. No one's gonna ask you what your GPA was, and if they do, that's a weird job. But for the
Yeah,
most part, C's get degrees.
yeah.
You don't have to have perfect scores. Sorry, I just
No,
That's
you're
something that's
totally
been like,
fine. And that's something that I've heard everywhere as well. Is that even some of the hiring managers at my current job, uh, they said that GPA too big, isn't like a huge factor at all. It's not the deciding factor in whether or not they hire someone.
yeah,
Uh, and I've even heard people say that it's in some cases it's not even worth throwing on your resume because it's not going to get looked at. So
No, take that on.
I worked really hard with my associate's degree and graduated with honors. I can tell you right now, no one has ever cared in an
Mhm.
interview that I
Mhm.
graduated with honors.
Yeah,
Never.
I don't think I've ever mentioned Dean's List like a single
Yeah.
time because nobody cares. They
Nope.
don't. Um,
Nope.
I
Please get degrees.
they do.
Please get degrees.
I think my takeaway and my like boil everything we just talked about down to a single sentence. What I think is that the satisfaction of completing something has to outweigh the work that goes into it.
Yes.
So,
Mm.
bottom line, if you are not happy enough with the outcome of like saying, "Oh, I 100%ed Breath of the Wild. I got every single thing in the game." If that satisfaction does not outweigh like either the lack of fun that went into it or the amount of work that went into it, is it worth it to you? And I would say don't. If the answer is no, then don't do it. Simple as that. Um, I think with that, we're probably ready to move into our final talking point with Fairy Biscuit, talking about healthy and unhealthy expectations, which is kind of a great summary point to everything we've talked about so far.
Thank you. Um, so yeah, so like within, as everybody knows, uh, within expectations, right? And um, the people pleasing mentality and the societal expectations and the inherent streamer expectations and the expectations that you even put on yourself, they're sometimes some like there's just too many expectations, and sometimes too many becomes unhealthy. Sometimes having some expectations is actually healthy for people. It kind of depends on the person. And I think that everybody should take expectations personally and figure out, does this actually work for me and work for my life? Or is this something that is going to impact me negatively? Is this something that is unhealthy or detrimental to any mental space? Or, and this can work for not just streaming, but life in general. Um, they speak of like which expectations with regards to like schedules and thinking that you're letting your viewers down, and oh, I need to have this many viewers to be awesome, or I need to make partner, or I need to do this and do that. And a lot of it is taking on expectations that are just kind of, I guess, inherent, but don't actually have to be taken on. And that's where the point where they become unhealthy um, expectations. Now, with regards to like societal ones, I think it was Katrin that was mentioned, like the house, the mortgage, the 9 to 5 job, the picket fence, and the dog. Um, that's not something that I will ever have. Uh, I will have a house. It will not be in this country. I will not have a picket fence. I probably will work, you know, 8 to 1 or something like that if I feel like working. Um, I will not have children, but I will have dogs. And it will not be in the country that I currently live in. Um, and that's okay. Like I am okay with that. A lot of people kind of look at me and go, but what about this and what about that? I'm like, but why? Why am I expected to do that? And it's taken me a long time to challenge the expectations um, that have been placed upon me throughout my life and by other people and even by society and even myself, right? I have put a lot of expectations on myself with getting ready to move to a different country, um, being able to be a productive member of society over there, you know, um, among other things, and then work expectations and things like that. Like I had to take a step back, and that's where my stream break has come in. Is like, okay, something had to give, right? My life went sideways. Um, I had to move. There was a bunch of uh, things that I set up for my soap shop in December, so that took precedence over, and you have to kind of balance of what you set for yourself and what you can actually do before they become unhealthy. And then you start with the burnout. And knowing yourself is going to be a big part of that. And the other part of it is like forgiving yourself when you can't meet those expectations. Because if you can't forgive yourself for not being able to live up to whatever, it can be very mentally unhealthy. I have It has taken me a long time to learn that. And it wasn't easy by any means. Um, I used to think that uh, if I had, if I didn't have enough viewers, if I had one viewer in my Twitch stream, I wasn't I wasn't a good streamer, you know, or like if I didn't stream for, you know, 3 or 5 hours, I wasn't a good streamer because it was expected that you do longer streams or whatever. Um, that was sometimes hard for me, like my attention span sometimes is like, okay, I need to go do something else now. But I set that expectation for myself, or the expectation of like playing a game when you don't enjoy it. That becomes unhealthy as well. Um, putting your any basically putting yourself in a situation where either you're not having fun or you're struggling to finish something is the unhealthy side, and figuring out how to mitigate that or get out of it is one of the hardest things that we will ever do as people. I think that's all I have to say.
Can I get a big here, here?
You're here.
Because that definitely I feel the needing to navigate those expectations and needing to figure out how to find that balance. When you said the thing about you do have to find a balance between, is this something that you are expecting of yourself versus for other people? And that really struck a chord with me, because I mean, I think it is, and I think Biscuit, you started your uh your section saying that we all need to learn like how expectations work for each individual person, right?
Hmm.
Like each person has their own, I'll say it again, we all have a different amount of spoons, and we all
Hmm.
have a different amount of spoons every day.
Hmm.
And like what works for me is not going to work for everybody.
Hmm.
And I think that's really what it comes down to, is you need to find that personal balance and that personal uh back and forth between what you are expecting and like, is this okay that you're expecting this? You're the only person that can tell yourself that, right? So yeah, no, I agree. It's good.
I think that's kind of what it comes down to is finding out what works for you and being able to say no to the things that don't A lot of
Yeah.
these expectations we talked about today are either I'll say that they're not real because again, if you ask any individual person, do you expect this
Mm,
of me? The answer is most likely going to be no. So they're overarching. They're kind of fictional, like supposed expectations that a lot of us see and feel like we need to hold ourselves up to. But how realistic are some of them? Um,
Mhm.
we, I think earlier, kind of got on a little bit of a tangent talking about all of the stuff that streamers are supposed to do. And I think that's another thing, like, maybe instead of just trying to think of things as like expected of you, think about all the things you think you're supposed to do. That's kind of an easier way to like frame it, I guess. And as a
Yeah.
streamer, you're supposed to like, put out those edited YouTube videos that Shay was talking about. You're supposed to
Yeah.
have your raid trailer, your channel trailer. You're supposed to like be
Post on social
constantly
media.
post on social media, have that presence. You're supposed to have all of this like creative energy to be constantly updating and changing your setup, and I don't think any of that is real. I don't think any of that is truly realistic, and I certainly don't think holding yourself hostage to all of those things you think you're supposed to do is healthy.
Yeah.
Agreed.
agreed.
I think the thing that um I think the thing that struck me the most that you had said, Biscuit, was one talking about how um, everyone deals with their expectations differently. And it made me think, I don't think all of these expectations benefit us. So you had said something about like challenging those and that it took you
Hmm.
some time to like figure that out and figure out when to say no. But I think all of
Hmm.
us could benefit from trying to challenge those expectations that don't serve us.
Yeah, like why? Like,
Well, that's the question. Like, that's the question that when it was brought up, my partner of like, you know, the city we live in is very expensive, right?
Yeah.
And okay, so let's. Would you want to move to a different, province? And I live in Canada, by the way. That's cheaper. And they had said, like he had said, well, what about this? And I was like, I had to think to myself, like, why not? What is stopping me from doing that?
Mhm.
I couldn't find anything. Absolutely nothing.
It could also just be that we have these expectations of what we think our life is supposed to look like by any given age.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
like of course
Oh
you
my
you
god. Yeah.
uh-oh, emotional damage.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to have a psychic AoE.
I think that there's this weird disconnect. So like as far as like societal expectations go, I am one of those people that meets a lot of those societal expectations of what you're supposed to have by the time you're in your 30s. Like I have a house, I have a husband, I have a car. I don't have a white picket fence.
You
It's
have a
broken.
snake.
You
I
have
have a
a
pet
That
snake,
counts for
so I
something.
don't have a dog. I have a pet snake. So like I have a lot of the things that you're supposed to have when you are what I would say from an American viewpoint, because
Mm.
that's all I can speak to. The American dream of dog or not dog, but
Snake.
whatever the
snake.
stuff. The American dream, which is a lie. But have a job and all the other things. Um, and I still feel like not. First of all, I never feel like an adult. I always feel like I'm still the kid making it
Yeah,
up.
what does that even mean? What's an adult?
I'm 35 years old and I'm like, I don't have it figured out. That's for dang sure. um, but it's also weird like having that where like you fit what is expected, but it doesn't feel right, which then makes me go, well, we should reanalyze these things. And I had a point that I was going with this and I've lost it already. So thank you, ADHD. But I think it was more just like I meet certain expectations and it still doesn't feel like I'm meeting the right expectations.
It doesn't feel like it has made you complete as a person just because
I
you
am
have a lot of the
definitely not
things.
completed by my material goods.
Absolutely.
And just to be clear, I coming from a place of privilege, like I am grateful for the things that I have in my life. I don't want it to seem like I'm like, oh, I'm blasé about this, whatever. I am very
No.
grateful for the things that I have. Um, but it doesn't make my life. It doesn't mean like
Mhm.
everything's complete. I'm a whole functioning working adult. Not really.
Yeah, it turns out like humans are all weird and we all need different things.
Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody has an instruction manual for how to be human, and I don't know how collective society made all of these decisions. I'd like to have a word with somebody about them.
Hey, I got 2 words for you.
Humans are weird, Nadigan says. Yep, yes they
Humans
Here
are
are.
weird.
here are my 2 words, and it's all I will say. I don't want this to devolve into a political argument, but my 2 words are white patriarchy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, mhm,
Yep.
Yeah.
mhm,
Yep.
mhm.
Yep.
I'm not gonna fully disagree with you there.
Yep. Uh society.
But yeah,
We
I don't
live
know,
in
like
a society.
we do.
Yep. We do.
True. But I mean, I this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is that we have found this community. We have formed a community. We
Yep.
are sticking together to kind of
Yep.
figure out how to navigate these big, scary feelings. And we're
Yeah.
looking to each other for examples. So I think the more we have grace and extend grace to other people for having to back away from commitments, from having to step away from doing things just for the sake of doing them, I
Yeah.
think
Mm.
we are going to be able to kind of collectively teach each other and learn how we should be treating ourselves.
Yep.
No, I agree completely. Because we're willing to give each other more grace than we give ourselves. And I
We don't
think if
expect as much as well.
exactly, we don't expect as much of other people as we do of ourselves. And then why is that?
It's a really good
Mm.
question.
Um,
That's probably more of like a an actual psychological question about like, I think to an extent everyone knows that they don't have main character syndrome, that like you are not the main character in the entire
Yeah.
plot of the universe. You are the main character in your own life, so of course it makes
Mhm.
sense that you have stronger feelings about that. But like as you play into the entire story of the universe, just take it down a notch. You don't have to
Yeah.
expect the world of yourself, even if you are your own
Mm.
whole world.
Exactly. We're
agree.
people worth pleasing.
We are. We absolutely are. Does anyone else have any further thoughts about these healthy versus unhealthy expectations? We talked about a lot of expectations today,
Yeah.
and I like how many people in chat were talking about just not listening to the things that don't serve you, of
Hmm.
the idea of having to do so many different things, whether it's as a streamer, as a human being, as a coworker, like whatever job you want to put yourself in, there are expectations, and they don't all benefit us.
I I also want to point out that I think it's really important, and I don't know, I struggle with this a lot. I think it's very easy to doubt ourselves. But I have found more times out of nothing that the times I trust myself and follow my gut is the time that things go not well. That shouldn't be the but like when I don't follow my gut, then more things happen that I have to like figure out.
Mm.
Um so whether it's as simple as like, you know what, I think I'm gonna take this way to the grocery store today versus like whatever. Like I find like when I follow my gut, like it turns out better for me. And I think the same thing can be said about our expectations are what we do. And so like I mean, like Biscuit was saying, like, uh your partner wanted to go somewhere else and it's like, you know what, you're trusting your gut of like, why not? Like, and I think it's important to trust ourselves. Like, and again, I think that comes down to also like my whole thing of like giving ourselves grace too. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so easy to be so hard on ourselves and put all these expectations and guilt and stuff that we deal with. But trusting yourself and giving yourself grace is important because I think you can make better decisions.
I agree.
You guys
Be
like
nice
me?
to yourself. That's the only expectation I have.
Be nice to
Be good
yourself.
to
Be
you.
nice.
Um, I am going to go back through and do a brief summary of our like boiled down talking points.
Okay.
The first thing that we talked about was expectations around commitment, and the takeaway here is to ask yourself, who are these commitments to? Because even if you are a people pleaser, you are a person worth pleasing.
Wait, wait,
Yep.
wait.
Love
Somebody
it.
clip it.
Love
Hurry.
it. I do have exclamation mark clips set up. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure. I'm pretty sure. The second talking point that we had was watch me be a liar, but I'm like pretty sure I have it set up. Nope, there we go. We got it. We got there. The second talking point we had was expectations around presence. And the key takeaway that I boiled down from this was that your presence is appreciated and never required because your presence is precious to you too.
Yep. Yep.
The third thing we talked about was expectations around completing things, finishing things that you started. And the key takeaway there is that the satisfaction you get from completing something has to outweigh the work that goes into it. And that's probably the most important thing to remember when you are setting up and trying to figure out like what's important to you. And lastly, we talked about healthy and unhealthy expectations and how to kind of set yourself up for success around dealing with these expectations and kind of navigating the guilt that might be coming from feeling like you're not meeting all of them. And the key takeaway here is to challenge the expectations you have in your life that don't benefit you, that don't serve you. Figure out what do you have in life, that what are you holding yourself to that is making you feel complete, making you feel like a better person, and making you feel satisfied. I think that is pretty much everything we wanted to talk about today. There's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of things that you're supposed to do. It's why my therapist has told me to rewrite the language. Like, instead of saying, oh, I have to go get groceries, I get to go to the grocery store.
yes.
That kind of, like, rewriting in your brain. It
In
feels
your own
weird.
mind.
It's not natural at first. It's not at all. But I have gotten better at saying like, oh, I get to do XYZ. And of course, like,
I get to stream.
I get to stream. I get to sit down and play video games and talk to my friends. I get to work on art projects. I get to play games with other people. I get to play games with my mom, with my husband. It's a good time. And these things always take like active work and active awareness of like that mindfulness of knowing that you're not overextending, that you're not holding yourself up to these unrealistic expectations that nobody could ever possibly meet because we're humans. Thank you guys for shouting out all of our participants today. We will have an episode 3 of Composed, but I make no promises as to when it's gonna be. We'll figure that out when we get there.
It'll be when we get there.
I think we first tried to schedule episode 2 literally like a month ago, and it couldn't happen. So we were like, okay, let's push it out a month.
And it's fine.
It's fine.
And it's fine.
And I really I appreciate this community, and I appreciate you all being here and giving us the space to talk about these things. And I appreciate Nat and Blaze for being here in the voice chat with us.
And thank you again, Nat, for the raid earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for everyone who joined in, whether you were lurking or just chilling out. Thank you for participating, if you did. Just thanks for being part of this cool group of people that we get to spend time with.
Yeah.
I have truly found that I kind of like Discord more than most social medias at this point
Same.
because like
I live on
I
Discord.
can just post and like my friends we can
Oh, my
talk to each
friends are
other.
on it. Oh, my
Yeah,
Yeah,
friends
yeah, 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 yeah.
absolutely. We're
It's
gonna
great.
raid out to Chibi S'mores, who
Nice.
they
Yay!
are a sibling duo PNG tubers, and right now they've got Shrek ears on, which is very fun, and they're playing Super
That's
Mario
fun,
Wonder.
Rain.
So why don't we go say hi?
All right.
Woo.
And just in case you don't get brought along, here's a shout out to Chibi S'mores so that you can find their channel and go say hi. I don't have any other streaming. I've been very loosey goosey with the stream schedule lately, which has been a challenge to be okay with. But it takes practice and it's work worth doing, so we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And because
we
it
forgot
brings
to.
you more enjoyment than the work.
Absolutely, it
That you
By
do.
the way,
does.
Redria, Catrium, Fairy Biscuit, Island Grandpa.
Mm.
We did it.
We
It's
did
our
it, y'all. So keep going and growing, and I will see you guys whenever I see you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Still taking. I don't know why it's not switching me over yet. Are
Uh-oh.
we off stream?